Hello and welcome to HNL Classics. Today we're bringing you a very special video to celebrate our milestone of achieving 500 subscribers. Thank you so much for supporting us on this channel, and we do appreciate every single view, like and subscription that you've given us. It certainly makes it all the more enjoyable for us to produce quality content just for you guys. We're still a small channel on YouTube, and frankly still amateur content creators. And with your continued support and encouragement, we'll continue to produce videos such as these for your viewing pleasure. So please do leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and do subscribe to our channel. It really helps us a lot. And without further ado, let's get into this 500 subscriber special video. Today we have a 1990 Mercedes-Benz 500SL R129 in pine green metallic 254. It's in with us now for some much needed restoration to ensure that it drives smooth and as it should. The two-tone paint job on this car in pine green metallic certainly looks striking on this R129. To be honest, we get really excited when we see a car that's not the usual colors like black, white, or silver, especially when it comes in colors such as pine green metallic, malachite, almandine red, pearl blue metallic, some of those really 80s and 90s period colors which are really lovely to see on the road. Now, looking at this car on the outside, it seems that it looks to be in pretty good shape until you take a look a little bit closer. It rides on the original 16-inch 15-hole Gully Decal wheels, which look splendid, and the lug nuts appear to be original and on the correct length. The car looks to have been repainted fairly recently, and the bodywork looks to be intact and straight with no obvious rust signs, which is a good sign. Now, looking at the front of the car, then we start to notice some things a little bit off. It's obvious of them being the xenon headlights. Now, xenon headlights were only available starting from around 1994 to 1995, and this is a 1990 car, so they're obviously not correct for this model year. At least one side of the amber indicators appear to have been replaced. The colors look different on both sides. Usually for Euro spec cars, the amber indicators are a little bit of a darker shade of orange, whereas for US specification cars are a bit more on the yellow side of it. As is common on almost all R129s that we see on the road, the side fender grille mesh has been replaced with probably chicken wire in this case. Those definitely need to revert back to its original grille mesh. The front grille looks to be in decent shape, although some of the slats are slightly crooked and will need to be realigned again. Now, under the hood is the venerable M119 5-litre V8 engine. And that engine is a magnificent power plant if everything is working accordingly. Now, here we're going to start the car. You can take a listen at how it sounds. So yeah, it sounds like a V8 alright, but while the car appears to start alright, there are some issues under the hood. It doesn't start reliably all the time, and when it does, the idle speed is rather high. And when the engine gets warmed up, it then starts to sputter, misfire, and eventually stall. And after that, it refuses to start until it's cooled down, which suggests several fundamental issues with the engine management system. On top of the engine management issues, there are also cooling issues. The coolant reservoir tank has a massive leak, draining coolant pretty quickly, so that would have to get replaced ASAP. Moving on to the back, which looks to be in decent shape. The locking system seems to be working. Now, as we open up the trunk, seems to be in relatively decent shape, except for the trunk lining, where it appears that somebody installed some sound system in the rear, an amplifier or something, and permanently damaged the trunk lining. As you can see, it left quite a number of holes and screws, so we've got to get another trunk lining to replace this. It's beyond salvageable at this point. And as usual, there are some usual cracks in the plastic trim pieces in the trunk which can be easily addressed. Now the soft top mechanism of this car appears to be working, but rather intermittently, which may suggest a failure of some of the sensors or requires a reset of the system. That would need a bit of time to diagnose, and if the hydraulics have not been serviced before, all the cylinders would also need to be overhauled, rebuilt and replaced as needed. We do know that the original soft top of this car is black fabric. However, the previous owner has replaced this with tan fabric. While it does provide a nice contrast with pine green, it is definitely not period correct, and we might look into replacing that with the original black fabric soft top. Now let's move on to the interior of this 500SL. On the face of it, it looks to be in fairly decent shape. The leather of the seats look worn but not torn, so there might be a chance of being able to salvage the leather and recondition it back to almost as good as new. The driver's seat controls appear to be working fine, but the passenger side seat controls are completely unresponsive, which might suggest the seat control module is the culprit. The door pockets on both doors are intact and nice and tight, as you can see, which is excellent. Usually the door pocket hinges tend to break as the plastic fasteners get brittle, and repeated slamming of the doors do not really help that condition much. So it's good to see that these two are still in good shape. On the dashboard there's this weird parking assist thing that doesn't really belong there, so probably need to look into removing it. The air conditioning doesn't seem to be working well. It's not blowing nice frigid cold air, which might suggest low refrigerant or at worst a leak in the air conditioning system. The center vents don't seem to be blowing out much air, which may also suggest a leak in the vacuum actuated flaps, which will need to be looked into. The radio doesn't turn on, so we don't know whether it's due to lack of power, improper wiring, or just a radio that's gone completely kaput. The wood trims on this car have been refurbished before, but with water transfer printed wood pattern. So the original veneer would likely have been in pretty poor condition. It now looks fairly decent, but we might be looking at getting it properly veneered with real burr walnut wood. The instrument cluster is partially working. The clock works, tach works, speedometer works, but the oil pressure gauge does not seem to come on. Neither does the outside air temperature. Fuel gauge, engine temperature sensor, coolant temperature sensor, as well as the fuel consumption meter appears to work fine, and the housing of the instrument cluster looks pretty worse for wear. We would likely have to get that replaced or reconditioned as much as possible. The rear seats look to be in decent shape, and the lower plastic trims of the front seats seem to be intact. However, it is missing some of the plastic trims on the seat rail covers. The rear carpets look like they've taken some form of hydraulic bath or other forms of nasty. We don't want to know. The C-pillar trims here look awful. They've been screwed in, and to cover the screw heads, some form of plastic cap was put on top of it. Looks truly awful. I don't think these can be salvaged, but we'll try. The power windows are working fine, but the switches on the center console have been switched. As you can see from the graphics, the left switch is positioned on the right and the right switch is positioned on the left. So just a simple swapping out of both, and it should be back to how it should be. The light switches seem to work, but the knob definitely needs to be replaced. The center console louvers appear to be intact and in good condition, but the cigarette lighter doesn't seem to be original. The center armrest appears to be missing the adjustment button. Probably it broke off. Now that needs to be replaced together the whole assembly as well, and rewrapped accordingly. And the gas strut that supports the center console lid doesn't seem to be pushing it up, so we might look into getting that replaced as well. The glove box opens, but it's got something stuck on here which we don't know why. Most likely because it doesn't close well, or oh okay, no, it's because it doesn't quite toggle the switch for the glove box light, so it's not likely why it got added on. As you can see, the glove box light is starting to come down. That needs to be rectified as well. Unfortunately, there are issues with all the air conditioning vents. One of them doesn't quite work, one is missing the toggle, one is stuck. The left, right and center air vents all have to be replaced, unfortunately. That's quite unfortunate, as the plastics in these Mercedes-Benz cars are just not made to withstand years of the harsh Malaysian weather that we've got here. The steering wheel is period correct, though the leather seems a bit worse for wear and will need to be refurbished. And last but not least, how could we forget all this plastic nastiness along the headliner? The sun visor trim covers, the sun visor mirror covers, the dome light covers, the rear view mirror, everything that's plastic along the headliner has perished or is about to perish, and we've got to proceed to order a whole set of remanufactured parts for all these to get this car back into shape. So there you have it, all the things that are broken on this 1990 Mercedes-Benz 500SL R129 in pine green metallic 254. And we're just getting started. These are all the issues that we could find on cursory inspection of the car, and quite likely we'll be in for many more surprises as we go along the restoration journey of this splendid and amazing vehicle. Hope you enjoyed this video to celebrate our milestone of 500 subscribers. And we do hope to see you in the next milestone, 1,000 subscribers maybe, 5,000 subscribers perhaps, but we can't think of any Mercedes-Benz model that comes with 1,000 or 5,000. But here's a little hint, we might come back with a special milestone if we do hit 6,750 subscribers. Now you can use your imagination to think what sort of car that we might produce for that, but do support this channel and you might see further down the road that another surprise might be in store for all of you. So please do leave a like if you enjoyed this video and do subscribe to our channel, it really supports us, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye bye.